It is 5 minutes to 8. We're sitting in the airport in Boston, waiting for flight 810 to take off for Paris. I left Spokane, left June at the Spokane airport this morning at about 7:30. Had an uneventful flight into Chicago, coming in on Northwest Airlines. Got off the plane and started looking for the TWA ticket deal and found out they were quite a ways away. Walked over there and was inquiring about my reservations to Paris when somebody hollered at me, and it was Charlie Turner and Virgil Donzi and Fred Hughes. They had been over at the plane, just missed meeting me at the Northwest Airlines plane, and Major Gordon and Charlie Turner had come in from Oklahoma. They'd only landed in Chicago about 20 minutes before I did. In any event, Fred Hughes had his car there, and we all went out in his car, went out to his house, where his wife had a Dutch lunch ready for us, and we had a couple of drinks and a real nice lunch, and then proceeded to catch, well, Becky took us back out to the airport, and we boarded the TWA 810 flight to Boston. I was under the impression we were flying directly to Paris, but such was not the case. We are going to Boston, and that's where I'm transcribing this now. We've had quite a lot of fun so far, but it's been terribly warm. Apparently I'm dressed a little bit too heavily for jaunts of this nature, and of course it's been somewhat of a long day too. This flight is scheduled to leave here in another 15 or 20 minutes. As I said, it's about 8 o'clock Boston time on October 5th, 1974. We expect to be in Paris at 7:30 in the morning. I'll check out now and see how this sounds. I'm still in Boston, sitting aboard the plane waiting for it to take off for Paris. Our party includes Charlie Turner from Arkansas and Major Gordon from Oklahoma, Coben Rogers from Oklahoma, Virgil Donzi from Illinois, Fred Hughes from Illinois, and myself. Major Gordon's son Jim just joined the group here in Boston to go with us. Jim Jr., about 33 years old. Don't know much about him, but a very pleasant young man. Coben Rogers' son is in the Army and expects to take a few days leave and join us. He's stationed in Europe, in Germany somewhere, and will meet us in Paris and be with us for several days. That will be the group we'll be traveling with, and we'll sign out now and see what happens. It's 7:20 Paris time on Sunday, October 6th. We're in the hotel here in Paris. The Hotel de Suede, and it's a small hotel, real nice facilities, small number of rooms, but quite adequate. And we are all here. We arrived at Paris this morning at about 7:45 Paris time. we lost about 5 hours between Boston and Paris, and we, for my part, I lost about 3 hours between Spokane and Paris, so I lost a total of 8 hours, and it gets real confusing. Everything quieted down after the dinner was served on the plane last night, and I tried to sleep. I think I did sleep a little bit. In fact, I took a sleeping pill, and I might have slept an hour or so. Then began to get daylight, and they served a continental breakfast and had some good orange juice, coffee, and a roll, which perked things up like everything. And we did arrive in Paris at 7:45. Our tour arrangements included the driver to meet us at the Orly airport at Paris, and he was there and has a Volkswagen minibus very similar to the one I had in 1964. Even has the skylight in it. And as there are 7 of us at the moment and the driver, it gives us a full load. Now, Hoban Rogers' son is expecting to join us in the next few hours here, which will make us 1 extra and may overload the bus, but we'll take care of that problem as it arrives. When we left Boston, there was a tax-free deal on liquor, and I bought a what amounts to about 1.5 quarts or 1.5 quarts, I'm not sure, 40 ounces of Canadian Club for $6.50, and some of the other fellows bought their favorite brand, and we brought it over to France. Strangely enough, we went through customs this morning at the Orly airport at Paris, and I don't think anybody had any of their baggage checked. They just waved us through. I guess they're glad to see American tourists, and we had no problems at all. We get out at the hotel here and checked in and registered, and we have this driver and the Volkswagen bus who is at our disposal. And I don't know when it was, about 2 o'clock we took off, went out to the Versailles Palace and the Versailles Gardens. I have a few pictures of that area. And then we came back. It's now, as I say, about 7:25 Sunday evening, and we are getting ready to go out to someplace for dinner. I'm not sure. We haven't had much to eat today. We had a continental breakfast on the plane, and as far as I'm concerned, I had a cup of coffee, European coffee, which is about half real strong brewed coffee and half hot milk. But I had a couple of drinks of this Canadian Club we bought in Boston last night, and actually we're all feeling in pretty good shape, and we're about ready to go out. It's, as I say, it's 7:25 on a Sunday evening, and we have appointments at a place to have dinner at 8. So we'll check out for now. Well, I'm back again. It's 8:15 on a Monday morning, and waiting around. We're going to have the car pick us up at 9, so I've got a little time here. We walked from our hotel probably about 6 or 8 blocks to a place to eat last night. It was, I guess, a typical French restaurant, not a swank place at all, but the food was good, I guess. Anyway, I certainly enjoyed it. We spent a couple hours eating. I had a dozen raw oysters, amongst other things, which I told the waiter to get me what he would get, and so that's what he got.
The balance of the meal was a kind of a steak, fried like a shish kebab, pieces of steak probably broiled on a skewer. It was good. Of course, the French bread was excellent, and the company was excellent, and everybody was feeling pretty good, so we couldn't hardly miss. We got back here at the hotel about 10 o'clock, and went right to bed, and I really sacked out. Of course, after being on the plane all night long, and then we did catch a little nap, but it seems as though I just barely got to sleep when I woke up again on that nap. Anyway, I'm going down now and expect to have a continental breakfast, and we expect to go out on a tour of the city at 9 o'clock this morning. I don't know, as I mentioned, but this guy picked us up at the airport, and we have a Volkswagen bus, very similar to the one that we had back in 1964. It even has a sky roof. It does not have the walk-through thing up to the driver's compartment. But all in all, real clean, relatively new rig, and apparently works excellently, and the driver is real good. And he drove us around a lot yesterday, and we're looking forward to more today. All for now. It's now Wednesday, October 9th, about 5 p.m. That makes 3 days since I've done any transcribing here. It's been real difficult to get to myself to be able to do this. I'm sharing the hotel rooms with Fred Hewson, and of course always something going on, and it's just real difficult to get time to relate what we've been doing while it's still fresh on my mind, which was the main purpose for getting this little rig. Monday, we had an appointment with a professional guide to show us Paris. She was a woman about 45 or 50 years old, had been a guide for 22 years, and she really knew her city. We started out at 9 o'clock in the morning. She met us at the hotel and guided us on an all-day tour of Paris, and I'm sure that we saw Paris, for the time we spent there, better than, or as well as we possibly could. We spent a lot of time at the Notre Dame Cathedral to start with, and right behind that is a memorial built to the concentration camps of Europe, and that was really something. The thing was underground, and you had to walk down a very narrow stairway leading you down, and I'm sure the thing was designed somehow or other to give you the idea of entering a concentration camp. Bars on the doors and windows and that sort of a thing. Off to one side, a seemingly endless tunnel led off, which you couldn't walk into, but it was some kind of a depth perception thing, and millions of little pieces of glass that might have represented each person. And way down at the end of the tunnel, light, which gave you the impression of being a real small light at the end of a tunnel, sort of very faint hope on the thing. It was also built up in the style of a burial plot, and very elaborately kept with flowers. A real hard thing to describe, but terribly impressive. An inscription on the wall in French, which literal translation was that we will forgive but never forget. Very, very impressive. The only thing that I could think of that ever impressed me quite the same way was be the Lincoln Memorial at Washington, D.C. From there, we went to the Place de la Concorde, and we went to the Louvre, and we went to the Arc de Triomphe, and all over the city. We went up to the top of the hill there, the Montmartre section, they call it. And it's just real hard to describe all the things that we did or saw because we happened so fast, and it's also been a couple of days past. We wound up back at the hotel about 5 o'clock, as I remember. The day was not a real good day. It was showering off and on. This little gal that was managing the tour, sort of, was very adept. If it was raining, then we drove in the car until it quit raining, and then she took the opportunity, if it quit raining, to show us something that we had to get out and walk to see. Of course, half of it was explaining all of the city and how these things came about. Of course, Paris is a city at least 1,200 years old, they know of, and was built at the time, a lot of it built, the early construction was of the Roman conquest of that country, 1,200 years ago. And then she knew her history, the Napoleonic history, and everything. It was certainly a long day, a very well spent day, but tiresome. At least I was tired when we got back. We got back to the hotel about 5 o'clock and had a drink or two and went out to dinner, and we got back, I guess, about 10:45 or such a matter. Takes a long time to eat a dinner in France, so we found that out. That night, for some reason or other, I just could not sleep. I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I actually thought it must be about 7 o'clock after I'd only slept a couple hours. And I just could not get back to sleep, and I don't know why. It wasn't anything I ate, or didn't have any worries on my mind or anything, but I surely put in a miserable night. That was Monday night. Tuesday morning, we loaded up in our Volkswagen bus. Believe me, when we get all of our luggage, and you see there are 9 of us all together, there's the bus driver, and Major Gordon and his son, and Hoban Rogers and his son, and Virgil Donzi, Fred Hewson, Charlie Turner, and myself. And we all have plenty of luggage, and believe me, we're pretty well loaded down when we are moving. We left Paris yesterday morning, and drove most of the day. We drove south of Paris and west to the coast, where the 561st fought a continuing action down the coast from where we landed first in France. When we first landed in France, we went south, clear down to Brest, and when the Brest campaign ended, then we moved back up north to St. Vith and near Belgium and Luxembourg. But we landed in Paris and then come right on through to this St. Michel country. We have a nice little hotel here. It's a resort hotel which will be closing in another few weeks, I think, or maybe just a week or two. The tourist season is all over, and this area is just as quiet and dead as can be. It makes it kind of nice. we got in here last night, and it'd been a pretty long day. That Volkswagen bus doesn't go too fast, and of course with that many people, somebody wants to stop once in a while, and it's hard to make good time. Not that that makes any difference, we've got plenty of time. We got in here last night, and again, it was a kind of an off and on again day. Not bad, we had a lot of sunshine during the day, but we had some showers too. And very comfortable day to drive. It wasn't too warm nor too cold. A lot of very interesting country. Believe me, this country has changed since I saw it. One of the things that impressed me is that you run into a lot of corn, almost like Iowa. Corn all over the place. When I was here before, they raised no corn at all. But from Paris south and west, there's lots of corn. Today we drove to Dinan and to St. Malo, and we spent a long part of the day trying to locate an OP which is an observation point that Hoban Rogers occupied in Dinan. And it was a bombed out casino that he was in, and of course since the war the casino was torn down and a private residence put up there, so he had a little difficulty in finding it. We did finally find exactly where it was, and he was quite pleased. It's rather gratifying, I think, to be able to go back and find some spot that you've been exactly at, and it's not so easy. I of course would have loved to have gone up to Plougastel and looked up the hill that I fired from the time I sunk the ship in the Brest Harbor. That would have meant 150 miles extra driving, and it's just out of the question. I was somewhat irked, but at the same time I could understand they had to plan this thing somewhat, and to go clear up there just for that reason, why, probably wouldn't be so good. Anyway, I won't be able to do that. Tomorrow we are leaving this St. Michel area and going up to see where we landed on Utah Beach. But I guess I will try to stick more to what we have done and what we will be doing. After we spent quite a little time in Dinan looking up this observation point that Hoban Rogers was looking for, we then went over to St. Malo. St. Malo is a walled city, quite an important seaport in years back for France, and a most interesting place, and again changed completely from the time I was here. An awfully nice time of the year to be here. Flowers are still blooming, an awful lot of them, although once in a while you see evidence of a frost. But generally the weather was good today, and just awfully pleasant, and a very congenial group to travel with. Everybody is most cooperative, and of course it is something I haven't done in a long time. Been with a group where I really wasn't responsible for making all the basic plans, and it's really quite a revelation for me. Very relaxing. We drove back to the hotel, got here again about 5 o'clock, and some of the group were going up to the St. Michel. The Abbey of St. Michel is quite a famous place in France. It's just a real small mountain that crops up right in the ocean bay here. And I guess about the year 1000 they built an abbey right on the top of the thing. I'm sure you've seen pictures of it. And old stone stairways going up the thing, and at the base, before you get up into the Abbey itself, why it's been commercialized. It's quite a tourist attraction, and a lot of little shops, one thing and another, most of them devoting themselves pretty much to junk. I've surely been curious to know what the wheat market's been doing in Grangeville and the stock market. Haven't seen a paper since we left, nor have I heard the radio or TV. I haven't been anywhere near a TV since we landed in France. I know they have them because you see quite a few antennas sticking out of roofs all over. Even some of the real old stone houses that are probably 200-300 years old, they've got a TV antenna. But I surely don't know what's been going on. I've thought about calling, and of course at 5 o'clock here, as near as I can figure out, we're 8 hours difference from Grangeville. So you back that off 8 hours at 5 o'clock here would be 9 o'clock in the morning in Grangeville, 5 o'clock in the afternoon here. I think if I do call, I'll wait until getting on close to midnight and call the office. By that time they'll be about ready to close the office. But that's a little difficult too, because where we've been, the hotels close their switchboards, but we'll see what happens. This is testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.